The KRGS Doors Show, proudly brought to you by KRGS Doors. For all your shopfront roller shutters, roller grills, folding closures and bifold doors, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au. Welcome to the KRGS Doors podcast. I'm your host, Drew Blackman. The aim of our podcast is to talk to cool people with cool stories, whether it be our suppliers, customers, staff, other business owners, or people from different walks of life, and get to know them a bit better. If you're interested in coming on, drop us a line or email, or connect with us via Facebook, and we can have a chat to see what we can do. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by KRGS Doors Managing Director Clayton Blackman and former rugby league player Luke Goodwin. Luke grew up as a son of a rugby league icon Lord Ted Goodwin and went on to have his own career both here in Australia and the UK. Now assistant coach of the Canterbury Bulldogs and director of the Chad Robinson Legacy Foundation, which is a national mental health charity supporting athletes with life after retirement who may be battling depression, anxiety and identity loss. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Luke Goodwin.
If this doesn't turn you on, folks, you haven't got a switch.
Luke, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. What is the Luke Goodwin story?
Born into rugby league, I suppose, with my dad. Being a pretty icon in the 70s, growing up with him, and then I first started playing at a club called Albion Park Rail down in the Wollongong area. That's where Mum and Dad first met. Dad grew up in Dapto, Mum from Albion Park. Then later on moved up to Sydney and obviously when Dad was playing up there, had a bit of a run with Arncliffe Scots. Then as an 8-year-old, I moved out to Parks, where Dad, when Dad finished his career at the Magpies in '82, we moved out there and Dad became captain coach of the Parks basement. So I'd had 7 great years out there. I actually went to Red Bend Catholic College, a boarding school out there. It's the same school that Chris Anderson went to. Matty Goodwin was there. He was there too. So I had a great time there, and then got shipped over to Perth when Dad started working for the Western Australian Rugby League. So we moved over to Perth before the Western Reds come in, and Dad started, like I said, doing a lot of development stuff there with them. And then, from there, I played in a Commonwealth Bank Cup final game for a high school team called Como Senior High. And it was before the Raiders and Canterbury game in 1990 at the Wacker. They had played before them, and I think we won something like maybe 20-0. I scored all the points. It wasn't not a bad effort, but footy was still in its infancy stage, especially at that high school level. And that's sort of where my rugby league career started. I got Tim Sheen saw me playing that, and I ended up moving back to Canberra for June 30 cut-off date and playing with the under-21s with the Raiders.
So you were still at school and then had to move back to Canberra to play under-21s?
Yeah, that's right. So I was only 17. I moved over. I was actually school captain at Como Senior High, and I left there. I made the big call, moved over to Canberra, went to school at Lake Ginninderra College. Guys like Jason Deeth was at the school because he was contracted to the Raiders. Duncan Gillies, who I ended up playing with his brother Simon at the Bulldogs. Yeah, so I ended up moving over, going to school there, and joined the Raiders.
What was life at living in Parks, mate? I imagine growing up there it was a bit cold there at times.
Yeah, it's one extreme to the other next. So it went from 40 plus degrees in the summer. We lived out there, like I said, 7 years, and it snowed one winter. So, it got really, really cold. But I loved it, Joe. I must admit, it was like I didn't think any other place existed. I could have stayed there the rest of my life. I loved it.
There's nothing like living in the bush, is there, mate?
Yeah, well, mate, I still got friends, we're meant to have a school reunion this year, 25-year Red Bend reunion, and I love going back. I've got, real good mates that still live there and friends that live in Orange, Bathurst and around. So I like to get out there as often as I can.
Mate, moving to Perth, you probably weren't exposed to rugby league a hell of a lot at that time before the Western Reds kicked in over there.
So having Canberra and Canterbury come over in 1990, you said?
Yeah, that's right.
That was probably a big thing for the city to have two NRL clubs come over there and play. That would have been a highlight because you would have been a little bit protected from rugby league over there.
Yeah, massively. And I was a big Raiders fan, mate. My whole life growing up, I remember I always went for Canberra. I love Mal Meninga. And I also went for Queensland during the Origin period because they were mostly the Canberra players, which was a bit odd, being a New South Welshman. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. But, yeah, it was great when they did come over. I was fortunate enough, and, not many people would know, but my dad moved over, and he also captain coached a team over in Western Australia. So I was lucky enough. My dad was lock. I was 5'8", and my older brother was centre. We all played together for a season.
How good is that?
It's something that I've done footy, but that's probably one thing I cherish the most. I actually playing with my dad and my older brother.
So was that that you got to play with Leon, mate, or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was only 16, just turned 16. Yeah, Leon would have been 18.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how Dad was, but yeah, it was something I like, especially now after everything that's happened. It's something I look back on now. It's probably one of the greatest things I've done in footy.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess for those people that don't know, Luke's father is the great Ted Goodwin, Lord Ted Goodwin. He's my rugby league hero, Lord Ted. He's my first rugby league hero, and I got to meet him a couple of times, actually. I've got to meet him over the last few years, and he brings back a lot of special memories for me, particularly being a St George fan. But Lord Ted was great. But mate, you spoke about Uncliffe Scott's there earlier. You had how long did you play at Uncliffe Scott's for as a junior?
I had a couple of seasons there, like pretty much. I was like 6 and 7, 8 maybe. Yeah, so I had some good times. Won my first grand final. As a junior there. So, like I said, I had some great times, and then I moved out to the bush. So
you were playing there, obviously, when Teddy was playing St George and Newtown?
Yeah, it would have been when Dad was, I was a bit young then, so it would have been when he was at West.
At West,
Newtown
okay.
West.
When he went to West,
yeah.
Okay. Because I do remember Leon's obviously the same age as me, your older brother. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not with us any longer. But yeah, I got to play against Leon at when he was at Scott's and I was at Brighton Seagulls. So,
yeah.
But also at school footy because I think Leon went to Cogra.
Yep.
Cogra Primary.
Yep.
Which Drew also went to. Drew went to Cogra Primary as well. So I remember those days. I was at Blakehurst Primary and Leon was at Cogra Primary. So I remember those days I think one day down at Scarborough Park when we were playing Scots, Teddy was there to come along and watch. So that was a highlight for me, obviously, because played against Teddy's son. It was good.
Mate, you not only did you play junior football, you also played first grade both here in Australia and the UK. Tell us about your career in that.
Yeah, it's funny. In the role I am at now at the Bulldogs as a wellbeing manager with the NRL team, I can sit back and honestly say now that, I had some talent. I was born into it. I had some natural ability, but I underachieved in my career. It's something I'm okay with now. I sort of suppose coming through the grades and towards the end of my career, I played with a lot of clubs. So when I sort of sat back in the career, I said, okay, I wasn't playing good there. I had an injury there, whatever happened here, whatever. Super League broke. So it's something I look back on, and would I change some stuff? Yeah, definitely. Am I blessed to have had the journey I've had? Yeah, I wouldn't change for the world for the people I've met. So I made my debut in round one back in the day at Penrith in 1992. You could sit on the bench for half a game, and then you could play, sit on the bench. Play half a game reserve grade and then sit on the bench for first grade. So it was the 1991 grand final replay, round one, Group Stadium. I played reserve grade in the day, sat on the bench, but I come on for the last 25 minutes. So think we lost maybe the fullback. Gus put Brandy back to fullback, and I jumped in the halfback for the last 25. So it's something I'll never forget. It was pretty cool. So that was great. Then had a great time at Penrith. It was it was a good experience. We were the sort of first club that sort of went semi-professional. So I was working in the club every day with like Nobby Clark, Greg Alexander, MG. I think there was Jamie Olgenick, Paul Dunn, Freddie, and Ben Alexander. So yeah, we had some. It was never a dull moment. We had some good times.
How much work actually got done with that crew? How much work got done there?
Yeah, fair call. Not much, but we had some fun. We would visit schools, mate. We called bingo. Which was pretty interesting. But I'm not going to lie, we'd turn up to bingo and the ladies would be there with the lollies and the tabbers for us. So it was good. But we had a lot of community engagement then. Coming off winning the grand final was pretty cool. But, and then, June 21, 92, it was pretty tough time out there where we lost Ben in a car accident. It was a real tough time. Sort of the first person I'd ever known that passed away was Ben, and I was actually in the car when it happened. So it was a double bang for me, and being so young, I've never had any counselling, didn't get offered anything, and that's no disrespect to the club. It's just they didn't know at the time, what to do. So yeah, it was a tough time, and that's when I think 23, 25 players left the Panthers that year. I ended up joining, the Dogs. So like I said, it was a tough time, but I love my time at Penrith.
I think that time at Penrith there, Luke, it really put it was a tough time for the whole community as well as the club. Like you said, they lost 23 players, and obviously Ben Alexander is a great name within the club, having his brother there as Brandy, but it really took the club a long time to get over that. Did you suffer any injuries in that accident as well?
And that's one thing I still struggle a little bit with. I got a bit winded in the car. I hurt a couple of ribs, but didn't break them or anything. And so that's when there were three other people in the car, including Ben. So no, I was quite lucky. I sort of let down the window on my side and just fell out the window. So yeah, so it's amazing how someone could lose their life and I'm okay.
Was he a driver? Was he the driver or a passenger?
Yeah, no, Woods was driving. Yeah, he was. Mate, we were singing. Everything was good. We were having a good night. So yeah, it was just one of those things. It was an ordinary time. Yeah, that's for sure.
Mate, you spoke about so you started your career with Canberra.
Yep.
And then how long were you there for at Canberra Raiders?
I was there a couple of years, so a year and a half. So I joined 1990 and left at the end of 91. Yeah.
But you didn't get to play first grade there, did you?
No, I was only a kid. Like I said, I was only 17.
Yeah.
In 1990, we had all three grades in the grand final. I was part of the 21 squad. I didn't play, but we had a fair thing. We had Brett Mullins, David Ball, Jason Deeth, Jason Gregory.
Yeah.
We had
a lot of guys that went on to first grade there.
Yeah.
What was the lure? What was the lure to take you to Penrith, mate?
Well, mate, I must admit, I during the 90. So I started in the 21s, and the next year it's a funny story. I got dropped back to the Jersey Flag, and they dropped me from the Jersey Flag Raiders in 1991. And then I ended up going back to play for Queanbeyan United. I was playing first grade, and it was quite easy. I was doing it quite easy. And then, the Raiders, they got me up and I played the last 4 games in 91 in 21s. And then, sort of nothing was happening. So Buck Rogers is a great old coach.
Yeah.
Buck, he was a reserve grade coach at the Raiders. And he said, look, I'm going to Penrith next year.
You want to come with me?
They've got an open, we've got a select trial. Do you want to come and trial? So I went up on a Wednesday night, drove up to Penrith from Canberra, and made trial. Got a hat trick. Gus was there, and they signed me on the spot. So, it's weird. I didn't have a deal. I trialled for a spot, and then round 1, I actually make my debut, which I don't know if many trialists ever would make their debut in round 1 after gaining a contract. So, it's something I'm pretty proud of. Yeah.
And then from there, so you were there for 2 years at the Penrith?
Nah, just a year. So
Just 1 year.
There, 92.
So you'd only
And then
signed
93.
a 1 year deal?
Yeah, he only signed a 1 year deal. They offered me another deal, but I actually went to Jack Gibson's house.
Yeah.
So it was either the Dogs or the Roosters. So I went to Jack. They spoke, which was really nice. And then I come to the Bulldogs, and Peter Bullfrog Moore sat in his office, and I just liked what he was about, what he told me about the club. And
so Jack Gibson was representing the Roosters at that stage?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Jack was with the Roosters, and Mark Murray, the coach, that Mark Murray was there.
Yeah.
So, so then I had made a decision. They both offered me first shot at the fullback spot. But like I said, when I come to the Bulldogs and I met with them, I just thought, wow.
You thought it was a good fit?
Yeah. And Bullfrog spoke, and Hopes, Chris Anderson spoke, and I just thought, wow, it sounds like a place where I'd fit in well.
So Chris Anderson was the coach, first grade coach there, mate?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Hopes was my coach for the 2 years I had here. Yeah.
And how many years at the Dogs for?
2 years.
Okay.
Should never have left, but had 2 years, yeah.
What made you leave, mate?
Mate, I was like I said, once again, I started off on, had a real good 93 season, made some rep teams. And then 94, I got an injury early on. I didn't start. And then, just fumbled around in Missouri. I got the odd game in first grade, but pretty much just sort of fumbled around. And then, it wasn't going anywhere. I had a one-on-one with Chris Anderson, because I was signed for the 95 season. And I just said, look, what do you think? And he was upfront and honest and said, look, you're behind this guy, but, we'd like you to stay, but, it's your call. And then funnily enough, Peter Sterling rang me. He rang me 3 times in the one day, but I kept hanging up on him because I thought it was a player trying to tie me up.
Someone was geeing you up.
Yeah, I thought it was. And then he said, Luke, it's Sterling, don't hang up. I said, sorry, mate. So, and that's how the Parramatta thing came up. And I went and met with them and ended up, joining there. But it was the Chewies Challenge. We played Penrith at Parramatta Stadium.
Yep.
And the last play of the game, I was running, put a kick through. Freddie tackled me from behind. I did my ankle, and I was out for the season. So it wasn't great times. Parramatta were a great club. For a club that we weren't travelling that well, but off the field, with sponsors and everything and members and stuff, they were so good. Yeah. I was lucky. I actually worked in the marketing team.
Yeah.
Steve Edge and Nobby Clark there, so it still kept me a bit connected, with the place, even though I sat out for the season because I'd done my ankle.
You only had the 1 year at Para, mate?
Yeah, Super League kicked in. Yeah. And I'd signed Super League. So I ended up, there's a couple of clubs I could have went to, but because my younger brothers and my dad and that were living in Perth, Peter Maholan rang me and I decided to go west.
Yeah. Back over to the Western Reds.
Yeah. So I had a year there at the Reds. Signed 3 years with Super League. So I went over there, mate, and loved it. And then the coach, Scott, ended up getting sacked at the end of that year. So that's happening. So, I ended up, and I was signed with Super League, and, I know the comp in Australia came back together. Because I was Super League, they asked would I go to England. So I was going to get paid no matter what, but I obviously still wanted to play. And then went over to England, had a couple of years over there. So played off-season at Union too with London Scottish, which was pretty different.
Who was your Super League club over in the UK, mate?
London Broncos I played with. Yeah. So we had a fair team. Like Spud Carroll was there, Johnny Timu, Terry Madison, Peter Gill, Chris Ryan. So it was quite star-studded. Tony Curry was the coach. Yep. Tony Ray was the CEO. So, mate, it was living in London. Had a young family. Had a daughter born over there, actually. So, it was pretty cool to be able to travel and see other part of the world and live in different culture,
Good one.
Mate, we've mentioned your dad a couple of times, and his name is synonymous with rugby league. did you feel pressure having the Goodwin last name growing up and playing rugby league as well?
Yeah, so early on in my career I'm not going to lie, it did concern me until I got older and understood. That's why I love, talking to guys like yourself and older gentlemen who watch the game, because I was so young and didn't really get to see him play. But, the more I hear about him, the more that people tell me, he put smiles on their faces. So I'm that proud of him and what he's done, and I'm proud to be his son. But yeah, like I remember playing games. I remember playing in a semi-final for the Dogs. I remember scoring a try in the right corner, and I was the goalkeeper, so I was turning back to kick the goal. And someone yelled out in the crowd, "You're not as good as your father." And I went, I turned around and I said, "Yeah, you're right." So, but early on, it sort of, because it wasn't Luke Goodwin doing good, it was son of Lord. But like I said, knowing what I know now, that was a sort of backhanded compliment, I suppose. But yeah, Dad went okay. He went pretty good.
He's still got one of the best nicknames, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's
the great Lord.
And they still talk about it. I know they were talking about the other night after Moses scored his try on Channel 9. They were talking about that, and still always talks about his nickname. Yeah.
He was good.
It's quite interesting because as a young bloke, you probably don't realise it, but as you get older, you do sort of appreciate it a lot more, as you said. And even I was lucky enough. Clayton and I are sort of 8.5 years difference in age, but we got to play park footy together, and that was a huge thing. And then we also got to play park touch footy with Dad, Clayton, and myself was a huge thing as well. But you don't really appreciate it when you're a young bloke, but you do look back on those great times.
Oh, mate, big time. And you don't, it's not that you take it for granted, because you're at a different stage of your life. And, so, being able to play with my older brother, being able to play with my dad, and especially, now, like I said, I've got my dad on the Facebook now, and hearing the story, I see a lot of the posts he posts and the stories that he posts. I said, Dad, how come you never told me that? He goes, "Oh, you'd never asked me."
Yeah.
So we have a bit of a chuckle. But the best time I have with my dad now is when we drive somewhere. And we sit in the car for an hour, a couple of hours, and we just talk. And he tells me stories about the kangaroo. He tells me, different trips he went on, and how the media treat the players now. But back in the day, they used to be the ones with the players, have a drink after the games, and they were mates. So, it's quite cool.
That would be excellent, mate. That would be excellent. Yeah. We got to go to a function a couple of years ago with Lord Ted for the Guymere Gorillas.
Oh yeah,
and Teddy is a great storyteller. He loves the microphone, and he just loves to tell stories. He was holding court. One of his old teammates, Stephen Edge, he was the MC, but mate, you weren't getting the microphone off Teddy because he was just he could just rattle them off for hours.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I'll invite him places, or he'll only go to like men of league functions or something if I take him. And he goes, "But Luke, I don't want to get up and talk." I said, "Okay, no worries." But we get there, and you're all right. You get him up there and you get him started, but you've got to prompt him with questions. He goes, "Oh, can they ask me this and ask me this?" I said, "No worries, Dad."
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of his stories are true. Like, they seem far-fetched, but him growing up in Dapto and the stories he's got there, I suppose, I could sit and, God rest his soul, I could listen to Artie tell the same stories. And that era, because it's such a different era. They worked and then they played. And then, I get the footy's changed and it's tough now, but, geez, when I watch some of that footage back in the 70s, that's some tough footy.
Oh, they had some tough blokes, mate.
Played the ball, went again.
Yeah, they had some tough blokes, mate. Another good storyteller, and it's Teddy's vintage, is Bomber Peard, Johnny Peard.
Yeah.
He's with, he tells stories about Arthur Beetson and he's a fantastic storyteller, Bomber.
So is there a chance now at your age to pull on the boots again and then play with your younger brothers, the Bronx and Bryson and those guys, or not?
Mate, well, I coach a Māori team every year, and we played a couple of. There was a game in Forbes, I would say maybe 5 years ago, where there was myself, My younger brother Grayson, Bryson, Bronx, and Leon Leon played with us that day, yeah. So we all played in like just a charity game.
The five of you.
Yeah, the five of us, which was pretty cool. Yeah,
It would have
only
been
happened once, and obviously with things that happen now, you know, it unfortunately can't happen again. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was, it was like being in the backyard.
It would have been pretty easy to commentate that game. Goodwin offloads to Goodwin, back inside to Goodwin down the wing.
There's not. There wouldn't have been too many spots left in the back line, mate. Apart from the Goodwins.
Yeah, no, you're right. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was so good. And like I said, like you brothers playing and doing what you're doing, it's it's all. It was a bit of banter too. I think our youngest Grayson got he hobbled off with a bad ankle, so we give it to him all the way home.
Luke, out of all the clubs, Canberra, Canterbury, Penrith, Para, Western Red, Super League, who you had some great coaches. Who was the best coach you had, mate?
I probably won't say the best, but probably the one I connected with the most. He coached me in England was Bobby Lindner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I remember playing one game and I come off, and I had a close relationship with him anyway. But I remember coming off after a game. I said, Bob, and I went okay in the game. I said, but I just couldn't get into it today. I struggled just to find my, find the pace of the game and just get into it. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said to me, you know what, that's okay. He said, you'll never be up for every week for every game.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this guy understands.
Yeah, because he'd been there too, mate.
Yeah, he had. He's been there and he'd done that. So that was, that was towards the end of my career. But I thought, wow, and I got into a bit of coaching when I finished, and I, sort of take that philosophy. Like I was a player, so I get it. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Bobby and the relationship we had. Obviously Gus at Penrith. I was probably too young to appreciate how good he was in breaking down the game and game plans. All I wanted to do was get the ball done. I used to think he'd turn me into a robot. I understand now as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm on the side of that. I'm very structured. I know where I need to be on the field and what tackle. Where back in the day, it was just give me the ball, I want to play.
Yeah.
And Opes was good for me. I've obviously got a lot to do with Opes now, being back at the
Bulldogs.
I see him all the time. I say Opes, and I apologise. I'm so sorry. What are you sorry for? He goes, I must have been a nightmare to coach because I just didn't listen. I just played footy.
Who was the What were you weighing then when you're at fullback? I remember there in '93 there. What were you weighing there as a fullback for Canterbury? What was your weight?
I was about 80 kilos.
Okay.
82 kilos. Yeah.
Who was so from there you went to Para? Who was the coach at Para that year?
Ronnie Hilditch was the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful human, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Really, really nice person. And like I said, but I only played one game under him, but we just that year we just didn't have the cattle. We were struggling a bit though.
Yeah.
Rebuilding phase and stuff, but yeah, he's such a nice bloke.
I listened to a podcast during the week with Sterlo, and he was really spoke highly of Ronnie Hilditch.
Yeah, good human. Like I remember, walking down at half time, even my ex-wife used to say, he used to stop and say hello to the kids and stuff, and he's going in his half-time speech because he was just a gentleman.
Yeah. And then obviously at the Western Red, you were with Peter Mulholland.
Yeah, Skull. Love Skull.
He's involved.
Good man.
He's involved with Canberra currently. Canberra Raiders.
He's the head of recruitment there.
Yeah.
He's such a good man. We was the second state of Origin last year in WA. I was part of organising Western Reds reunion.
Okay.
So we thought let's go back to Perth. So we had Friday. We had a men of league function at the trotting track there. Gloucester Park in Perth, right near the Wacker. And I think there was, don't quote me, but it's about, I'm going to say there was about, in the 3 years Perth were around, there were 53 first stadiums played. Okay.
And how many did you get back for the function?
Yeah, we got nearly 40 players back.
Wow, that's fantastic. So MG?
Mate, it was incredible. MG, mate, he was the life of the party because the origin was there. It was easy to do.
Brad Mackay?
No, Brad was away. He was away. He has a 2 weeks every year as a surfing trip overseas. And it happened to be in that time. But yeah, so we had that, and then on the Saturday we had a luncheon up at North Beach Rugby League Club. It was packed.
Yeah.
And then we all went to the State of Origin together, but it was such a good time.
Yeah, good one.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we have a word from our sponsor. The KRGS Counterline aluminium shutter has a slimline 44mm flat curtain, manufactured from aluminium extrusion to provide quality strength with ease of use and attractive appeal. Suitable applications include shopping centres, shop fronts, clubs and hotel bars, countertops, kiosks, arcade, serveries, sporting clubs and stadiums, airports, and fire reel cupboards. The KRGS counterline shutter can be slotted to provide ventilation where necessary, or remain solid to keep out venom and debris, and is available in the standard Dulux powder coat range to suit all decors. For more information, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au or call 1800 897 822. Now back to the podcast.
Just on representative footy there, in 1993 you played country origin with the likes of Laurie Daly, Lazarus, Paul Harrigan. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I said, I was only 19 at the time and still a kid. And I remember, even with Laurie, him coming to Perth back in 1990, I was getting his autograph, and I've got photos at home, him with like Bronx and Bryson. So, yeah, it was amazing. And just rubbing shoulders with those guys. I don't like sharing eras and that and comparing them to other eras, but I believe the 90s was such a good time,
So many good players, mate.
Yeah, and I'm blessed that I was fortunate enough, like I played with Freddie, I played with Brandy, and, you speak about
Terry Lamb.
Loz, Lazo, like, Var's the best player I played with.
That was going to be one of my questions later on. Who's the best?
Mate, he's easily the best. Probably not the most skillful natural talent I played with, but as a leader, he wouldn't tell you to do something if he hadn't done it before. He was just one of those blokes that always got the job done. And even to this day, mate, I see him around here, and I'm like a little schoolboy because I love him.
Yeah,
he taught me so much.
He's also
much off the field.
He's also, Luke, one of the best blokes off the park.
Yeah, well, that's it. He is. And Clay, I worked with him for 2 years in the marketing team here. Me, him, Jimmy Dimmick, and Lynn Anderson was our boss. And he taught me so much just about, doing the right thing. I remember one day, I'll never forget it, we had a masseuse, and he was an old fellow. He was a champion, right? And he lost his wife.
Yeah.
And I'd been out with a sponsor. I had to do something, and I couldn't quite make it. But if I pushed it, I might have got there, you know what I mean? And I remember getting back to the club, and Bar pulled me aside and said, where were you? And I said, I couldn't get. And he ripped shreds off me.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was a respect thing. And that, and really, but I got it. I thought, So he taught me some real good life lessons.
Yeah.
Which were great, you know what I mean? And like I said, I got so much love for the guy,
Yeah. We've had a bit to do with him with touch football, and also another mutual friend of ours, we play a bit of golf with him and so forth. Yeah, but
golf.
He loves his golf, mate. He's a member there at Cabramatta Golf Club, but he's a champion bloke off the field, mate.
Yeah.
You're now head coach at the Canterbury Bulldogs women's team, and you're on the coaching staff there for the men's side of things, mate. How did that come about?
Mate, I took a year and a half off work to do a bit of study. I've never studied before, but my older brother Leon, unfortunately took his own life, so it set me in a bit of not a bit of a spiral, but I needed to find out why he did what he did. So I took a year off just studying well-being, and I did 3 courses because I just wanted to know how the brain worked, what wasn't functioning, is there something more I could have done? So there was a lot of questions that I had, for myself. I knew he was struggling a bit with his relationship breakdown, but I needed not so much closure. I just needed to know, I needed to learn more because I didn't want it to happen to anyone else.
Yeah, close to
Sorry?
Close to you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or to anyone, because the pain I felt when I lost him, and you guys are siblings, so, mate, I don't know. I've lost people before, people I cared about and I loved and family, but the pain I felt losing him was next level. So I just didn't want anyone ever to feel that. So I did the study and stuff, and I knew there was maybe something coming up at the Bulldogs in that space. So I got a call off Price and said, mate, we've got a women's team. Would you be interested? Your name's been thrown up. And I said, I said, wellbeing's the space I want to work in. I said, but, yeah, mate, that'd be great if, I hadn't coached for a while and didn't think I'd ever get back into it for no reason. And then that came about and it was, yeah, mate, we together in October and it's been unbelievable. I've had so much fun with it. I've missed coaching that much. But unfortunately, me being in the NRL bubble, Apollo knocked me back to keep coaching the girls. So, yeah, unfortunately, I had to give it away when the season started because of the corona and the bubble.
Who stepped into that role now, mate, as coach?
Mate, we had a lady by the name of Lisa Viola. She's a dual international.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was our elite female pathways manager.
Yeah.
And she would help me out. And I said, Lisa, this is a great opportunity for you to, to get into this high level. And she already knew the girl. She was a part of the system. So put a couple of people around her to help her. But, yeah, mate, she's going great. And a good girl, real good lady.
And the girls, they had their first round last week, I believe?
No, the round before. So they won their first game in 2 years on the weekend, which was awesome.
Oh, that would have been good for them.
Yeah, it was great. I was so happy for them. But the club are really, and Pricey's been a big driver, and Lynn Anderson, they put a lot of resources, a lot of money and everything into the women's program. I think before, and not for any reason, it was just, let's have a women's team.
Yeah.
But when I joined, I said, look, are you going to take it serious? Is there going to, the girls have never been in our gym before here, the NRL gym. We use the gym now.
Yeah.
Not now because of the bubble, but
yeah.
In the pre-season we use the gym. They've got their own change rooms at Belmore, just everything like that. And they really, give us the resources to push the program. So, yeah.
It is a growing part of our game, mate.
Oh, it's a growing part of our game, but I think it's a growing part of sport in general.
Yeah.
I have 3 daughters and I speak to them and I say, it's a massive, massive opportunity for women in sport at the moment. So
yeah.
You're quite blessed, the AFL, you've got the soccer, the cricket, now the rugby league, rugby union.
It's getting much more promotion, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's great. And when you've got people like Lynn and, and Andrew Hill and Pricey pushing it, it makes my job a lot easier.
Great.
It certainly is a big part of the future of sport, women's, and it's good too because the whole family can get involved then as well. As you said that you've got 3 daughters, well, there's probably an opportunity down the track for you to coach them playing rugby league, where in the past it might have been netball or something like that isn't your forte, so it's difficult to become a coach. But now that they're able to play rugby league, hey, Dad can still coach.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, one of my daughters is in my Bulldogs squad. So, yeah, so you're right. It's lucky. I've got an 11-year-old, funnily enough, went and trialled for Endeavour Sports High yesterday in the rugby league and union program. So, yeah, I would never have thought that a million years ago. So, but, yeah, you're right. I can, for once I can sort of help them, not with the netball or the soccer, but, I've got a bit of an idea on footy and how it works. So, yeah, it's a bit enjoyable.
Do you find being a player, and you mentioned Bobby Linder before, he understood it as a player and then a coach. Do you find being a player has helped your coaching?
Yeah, definitely. I like to, I do like to coach, from a player's perspective. I know that you can't talk to players all the same, and I know, I've got 25 different personalities in that top 25 squad. And mate, I know, like for myself, I remember, I didn't really react well to someone yelling at me. If someone come and put their arm around me and said, hey, mate, try this, I reacted to that. And everyone's different. So, yeah, I like to look at it from a player's perspective because I was one. So, yeah, I believe it helps, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Clayton and I were talking yesterday, and Clayton's a coach with touch football and been a rugby league coach, and I'm coaching an under-16 side rugby league as well, and we're actually saying sometimes one of them needs a kick up the bum, and then the next one he needs a cuddle and things like that. You've got to really manage that type of thing and understand each personality needs something different at a certain time.
Yeah, no, 100%. But, there's, and that's, I believe that, because you've got different personalities, you're dealing with different cultures and the way they see stuff. There's a lot more to look at. If you look at a holistic approach, you've got a better, you'll have a better chance of, of achieving, winning on the weekend. So, there's a lot into it now. It's not necessarily what's on the field, it's more the stuff off it.
And I guess with your studies there of well-being and that type of thing has had a big impact of understanding that personality and what's going on behind the scenes. It's just not what's happening in the 80 minutes out on the footy field.
Yeah, 100% true. And it's always been around. I remember back in the day, even Bullfrog used to say, happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
And it's an analogy that's been thrown around for years. So not a lot's changed there, but it's just the tools and the resources we have now to deal with it, I suppose. That's the big thing. There was a Professor Levere. He done a study for over 3 years on over 630 NRL players. And it come back, right? And the beauty about this study is it's done on our sport. And it come back, his results found that if you're engaged off the field, say in work, in study, I forget, I know 10 or 20, 30 times you have a longer career, you stay at one club longer, and you perform at a higher level longer. And it's a proven fact. So that's what we try and do, and part of my job is make sure they're engaged off the field. So I don't want them to go home and sit on the Xbox. It's all right to go and have an active game of golf, but I need their mind to stop with the footy and go back and engage in, studying. A lot of our guys do a lot of courses. We've got 4 guys doing a building course at the moment. We've got guys doing Cert 3 and 4 in fitness. We've got 3 guys at university. They're doing university courses. So it varies a lot. But, the stats and, that study Professor Levere did, that they don't lie, the stats. They're there and they're real. So
there's obviously a lot more opportunities for rugby league players now, because in the past, it's always only been a short window to be able to earn money, and there's only a select few that are obviously going to go into the media and continue in that sport, in our sport along those lines. So, you've got to have a backup plan, so to speak.
Well, Clayton, I wish I did a lot more study when I was playing. It probably wasn't around there as much, but I know my grandmother used to say to me, you can't play footy forever, but 18, 19, bulletproof.
Mate, you think you're going to play till you're 50, you know what I mean? That's right.
Yeah, I wish I...
That's right. When I was young, I was playing, and I was still going to play till I was 50. I was going to play A grade for Brighton Seagulls till I was 50, you know what I mean? So I didn't think the body was going to break down and not be able to continue on it. But, mate, I've got to take my hat off to you, like taking 18 months off work to go back and study at your age. Like I know you're not old. I know you're a little bit younger than I, but mate, that's a big effort just to do that after being out of school for so long. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig just to go down and try and knuckle down and concentrate on it. But obviously the cause was great because of the search and trying to look into to Leon's past and why something like that happened. Yeah,
no, and it's like anything. If you've got a passion for something, it's quite easy. The classroom stuff, I'm not going to lie, it was a big adjustment.
Would have been a while since you were in a classroom, mate.
I was very rowdy.
You weren't the class clown, were you?
Oh, I was up there, I reckon. But yeah, it was. It was a big adjustment. But because I was that passionate about it and I needed answers. I wanted to find, how everything worked and what's sending down or over the edge. It made it quite easy. But yeah, it was, mate. Someone would have told me I would have been doing that at 45. I would have laughed at it.
Yeah.
So, but it was. But yeah, I got so much out of it, and mate, I'm enrolled in 3 courses at the moment. I'm still studying. So yeah, it's I don't actually enjoy it now.
Luke, we follow each other on social media. You do a little bit with some charities and so forth.
Yeah, mate. We have one that my fiance. So my fiance's brother was a former NRL player, Chad Robinson, used to play at Parramatta.
Yeah.
And the Roosters. Yeah. So funnily enough, it's a great story, and we share it. We go and speak with. So she started a foundation, the Chad Robinson Legacy Foundation. So it's to help elite athletes for their well-being. So after my brother, my brother took his own life, she reached out to me a couple of days after that and said, "Listen, if you ever need to chat." So we chatted once, and then for the next 5 months, mate, she helped me through some real dark times. And I, like I said, it was just a couple of texts here and there. There was sort of nothing in it. And then I was working away at the time. I was working the FIFO work, week on, week off. So I gave her a call and I said, "Listen, I'd like to meet up and thank you for everything you've done for me." I said, so we ended up meeting at a coffee shop in Lidcombe, which is sort of our place now. A bit of a chuckle about it. Yeah, and I just bought her flowers and I said, "Look, I just want to thank you for everything you've done." I said, "You got me through probably the worst time of my life." And this is someone who'd just been through it 2 months prior. So it was still pretty raw for her. And here she is reaching out to me. So I thought, wow. Yeah, so after that, then I went back to work. And a month later, I said, "Oh, do you want to meet up again?" And I wasn't looking for anyone. I still wasn't in a great space. I'd split up with my wife, 25 years. Obviously my brother doing what he did. So I wasn't out there looking for anything, and it just happened. And then, mate, we've been pretty much inseparable ever since. So much so that I asked her to marry me last year on Dad's birthday. So, yeah, mate, life itself couldn't be any better. But getting back to the foundation, she started the foundation, and like I said, because what happened was she saw her brother spiral out of control. So he got a knee replacement at 35. He got addicted to like painkillers and drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then started getting on the recreational stuff. And then, he sort of couldn't, and didn't have the, was financially wasn't didn't have the money for it.
Yeah, that was a very tragic story, that, mate, of Chad Robinson and so forth. But what you're doing there, mate, with those charities, it's a fantastic organisation, and there should be more of it.
Yeah, well, the biggest program we have with the foundation is Dr. Louis Shidiak. He's the head doctor at Parramatta, and he's an orthopaedic surgeon. So he was Chad's surgeon, and he saw Chad's,
demise,
sort of spiral out of control a bit. So one of the programs, we have a physical program where any ex-athlete can come to us if they've got private health fund and they need, say, a knee replacement, hip replacement, anything like that. The doctor does it for free.
Wow.
So all you get charged is, the balloon of $500 or whatever.
Yeah, the gap,
the excess.
Yeah, the gap. So because we're finding a lot of these ex-players, like, we don't have the money we used to have.
Yeah.
They've got to adjust to normal life. So any way we can assist. So we do a lot of that too. We went to the men's league and said, instead of you trying to find the money, send them to us. You pay for them maybe to get on a private health fund, and then which will cost you $1,000 instead of finding $10,000 to get a hip replacement. Yeah. And the foundation will do it for free. So I'm pretty proud of that program.
You should be.
That we actually give something back, and which is awesome. Yeah.
And when's the big wedding day, mate?
Mate, we've had some dates this year, but obviously with the COVID, it's we don't know. We don't even know where we're going to do it, what we're going to do.
It's been postponed, eh?
Yeah. So we didn't really have a date, but we were still thinking about when. But we were thinking about the end of the year. But like I said, with COVID and everything, it's just thrown everyone's plans out, I think.
Is Teddy going to be the MC?
What do you reckon?
Whether he is or not, he'll take over.
I reckon he'll have a speech.
We'll have to prop you with questions.
No doubt, here from the floor. No doubt.
Just on that foundation for our listeners, if anyone wants to get involved or find out more information, it's chadslegacy.com.au. So you can go there and find out some more information, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. So, mate, as Clayton said, you should be extremely proud of what you are doing.
Thanks,
there.
Mate.
To finish off our podcast, we ask our Fast 5 questions, which is a bit of rapid fire to get to know you a little bit better. What would be your last meal?
My mum's rice patties.
Rice patties?
So back in the day, Mum used to make these things. They were just from leftover meat the night before with some corn and veggies or whatever left in them, and just in a rice-based, patty. And she used to cook them up. And to this day, I always put an order in. If she ever comes over, she'll bring
rice patties, eh?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money, so it was me and my brothers, and mate, I still love them.
What's your drink of choice?
Mate, Coke Zero. I got to be honest, I'm 47 years old and never tasted alcohol. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm not there's probably something I like out there, but I think it's a bit too late to start. But yeah, mate, I do like a Coke Zero.
Geez, mate, that's impressive, particularly during a time where you would have played alongside some guys and you would have had a lot of peer pressure about getting on the drink and so forth.
Yeah, massively. And I used to think, wow, I'm not going to be invited out and stuff. But they invited me because they like me to drive. So it was pretty cool.
Designated driver.
Yeah, that's it. But no, you're right. Look, the boys tried they tried a few times, but I could smell it. I didn't like the smell of it, and especially beer.
Yeah.
And it was for no reason. I had the whole family drunk, and but I didn't have any bad experiences. It is what it is, I suppose.
Good on you.
That's good. If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be and why?
Can I tell you, I had to ask everyone at Belmore about this because I had no idea, but it was a tough one. I reckon I'd like to be Michael Jordan for a day.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
That'd be pretty interesting. Mike Tyson, it's just to see how their world works.
With Jordan, mate, it'd be a good day on payday with Jordan.
Yeah. I should have made that more specific. But But even, I think, being an athlete, even someone like Tom Brady, just to see how they prepare, on a game day and stuff, that would have been pretty cool, yeah.
Luke, did you watch the Last Dance series?
Yeah, mate, we actually watched it here at Belmore every lunchtime. So when one would come out, we would watch it the next day as a team.
It's pretty impressive, wasn't it?
And I was only thinking about it today coming in. Even just the little things I'd pick up, like him pretending these guys didn't like him and making up little scenarios in his head just to motivate himself.
Just to motivate him to win.
That's next level, that is.
Yeah, it's big time.
I actually used to have a footy coach when we were younger, who's also my brother, Clayton.
This will be good.
And he used to make up stuff like that about the other team think you blokes are soft, and the other team think this, and that type of thing, just to motivate us to come out. And we were probably about under nines at that stage.
That kid called you a cat.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
It's funny. When I was coaching in one of the Sharks lower grades teams, it was like the Jim Beam Cup level. I used to find articles on site and just snip it out and change the headlines and saying, and stuff. It's exactly what you're just saying. The boys at the end of the year, they used to come in, did that really happen? And I had to say, no.
Made it up.
Yeah, I did.
Who do you admire the most?
I got two people. My dad would probably be number one. It's funny as I get older and the time I spend with him. It's like the other day, I went and watched my middle daughter play footy, and Dad come and he had to sort of go and sit down just to watch. And it was the first time I looked at my dad, I thought, wow, my dad's, he's getting on in age, really scared me. So, and then I think about, what he did for us. He had 6 kids. He had to work a couple of jobs here and there and stuff. So I really admire him and I'm grateful for what he did for us. So he'd be number one. And then my partner, Monique. the hole I was in. And like I said, I don't realise how much she helped me get through the worst time of my life. Just being there, and some days it was, just are you okay, or stuff like that. So there too, and the way she did it at the time where she was still suffering herself, which I just think, it's above and beyond.
Just on both them, on your partner, you mentioned like she probably needed someone for support as well, and here she is supporting you in that sense. And just
she says that to me. She goes, "You helped me through the time too," and I thought, "Okay, I didn't look at it like that."
Yeah,
I think it's worked well, mate, because you look happy.
Oh, mate, and I said things happen for a reason and stuff and that, but mate, life's good at the moment. Clayton, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
And just on your dad, you said like he had 6 kids and he was working and then he's playing footy. It's interesting how that time has changed in rugby league, and you're trying to get your players now to go and study and things like that, where when your dad played, he might have had a shit of a day at work, and then he's got to turn up to training, run around, and then he's got to come home to 6 kids, and then the next morning he's got to get back up at 6:30 to go out and work for another 8 hours, and then try and play on the weekend, and it wouldn't have been huge money either.
No, Drew, no. And that, what you just said exactly happened. He started an apprenticeship as a Sparky, which he's still a Sparky, at the coal mines down there at Port Kembla, Mount Wanganui. So he'd have to get up and he'd dust himself, go to training, and it was hard work, So, and he got paid nothing to play. I think West, his last year at West, they had a bit of money, but with the Dragon, and they just played because they loved it, which was
that was the era, mate. That was the era.
You just mentioned too, he played at West, and then you played at the Dogs. Did Terry Lamb play with him, and then also play with you as well?
Mate, my dad played with the 18-year-old Terry Lamb, and then I played with Terry here at the Bulldogs. So yeah, it's pretty freakish.
That is, well, that shows what sort of player Terry was, that extended career.
He was pretty durable.
Mate,
he was.
And finally, we ask everyone this question. If heaven does exist, what would God say when you arrived at the pearly gates?
Would he say something like, welcome the Son of the Lord?
Yeah, I think he would.
Yes.
The Son of the Lord.
Yes.
The Son of the Lord, yeah.
You've got privileged parking up here.
Oh, don't tell Teddy that.
Mate, thanks very much for coming on our podcast.
That wraps up our chat with Luke Goodwin, rugby league player,
really
coach, and director of the Chad Robinson Legacy Foundation. To find out more, or if you wish to make a donation, visit www.chadslegacy.com.au. If you have missed any previous episodes of the KRGS Doors podcast, you can download them from our website, www.krgsdoors.com.au/podcast, or on your favourite podcast player, search KRGS Doors.
Yeah.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. This also boosts our ranking and my ego. The other thing I suggest, if you've enjoyed the podcast, head to your favourite podcast player and leave a review.
Mate, thank you again for joining us.
On our next episode, we speak to lifeguard, firefighter, author and director of Live, Learn, Survive, Trent Maxwell, or better known as Maxie from Bondi Rescue. We talk all things from growing up on the beach, to fire rescues, to writing 3 bestsellers, and to what the future holds. I've been your host, Drew Blackman, and you've been fantastic for tuning in today. As always, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Thanks. Till next time. The KRGS Doors Show, proudly brought to you by KRGS Doors. For all your shopfront roller shutters, roller grills, folding closures and bifold doors, visit www.krgsdoors.com.au.